Sounds like a pony. You know, a pony is a little horse. Dad joke. Welcome, everybody. Today is January 16th, 2024. This is the Hannah City Village Council meeting. Everybody, please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance and a moment of silence.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. You may be seated. No public for input. Everybody should have a copy of the January 2nd, 2024 meeting minutes.
Send somebody over to Danny's house?
He may be working.
Yeah, check
he
out.
may be working second shift. He works rotating shift.
Oh.
So he may work third one week, second, first.
Just don't feel like he's missed as many of them.
Yeah, and they can't have his. He works for the railroad, so they can't have their phone on them, or they lose their job.
Make a motion to approve the previous meeting's minutes as submitted.
Second.
Motion by Pearson, second by Sidak. Any further discussions or corrections on the meeting minutes? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Motion carried. Treasury report.
I don't think there's really anything out of the ordinary on it. No, nothing. Any questions?
I will make a motion to approve the treasurer's report and pay all the outstanding bills.
Second.
Motion by Chair Volley. Second by Pearson. Any further discussion or concerns? And we'll roll call it. Weaver,
Yes.
Pearson,
Yes.
Chair Volley,
Yes.
Sidak,
Yes.
so yes. Motion carries.
Brandon's coming in now.
Okay, perfect timing. Good evening, Brandon.
Good evening. Can you hear me?
You're a little low.
Can you hear me?
That's a lot better. Well, you came in at the perfect timing. You're up, sir.
Okay. I didn't hear you. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay. For what reason, my camera's not working. Let me try to turn this on real quick. Sorry, I literally just sat down. I apologize. Just stopped in the office here because I knew I couldn't make it out. So this isn't working. Let me try this. Sorry. Yeah, what I wanted to do, Brian had asked me to comment on the tower. There we go. Funding with the EPA. And as I think I've mentioned, we started the process and then we put it on hold when we got some bids from some other recent work that were significantly higher about this time last year, April. They're in a couple of other communities. And so we kind of put a hold on it, seeing what was going to transpire with respect to pricing. And they're in this fall. You guys suggested that we kind of get back in the line here. And we've had a bit of a slow start, but the highlights are two things. One, we need to update the planning study that justifies that you need a tank and that it would cost X. I don't think that the justification has changed. I'm going to work with Jim. Brian, I asked him. We in the study that we did was in 2020, so we've got water usage numbers up to 19. They haven't gone down, but we probably should update that to justify or at least show that it's up to date with the numbers. So we'll tweak that. We tweaked the population data for whatever reason in 2020. We did not have the 2010 numbers in there, so we'll be able to have 10 and 20 now census data again. It's not 3 times what it was. It's not half of what it was. It's not going to change anything, but it gives the opportunity, agency less opportunity to question what you're suggesting. So we're working on completing that. But the biggest point is, what are you asking for? And in the study that we had, the planning report, which we had prepared in 2020, we had a $1.8 million project. And if you were to submit that, then that's what you would have to ask for in your application process. And I don't think that's right, as we've talked about. So we've been updating those costs. And here's where it gets a little sticky. There are 3 tank manufacturers we work with a lot of it, and they bid on both Dunlap and Pleasant Valley. Phoenix, McGuire, and Caldwell. And we're getting a pretty good spread of budgetary costs from them. And we have consistently been getting that. And then when the bids come out, they're a lot more competitive, which makes sense. Nobody's going to, give you a budget number that's their best number. But as we've been working with them, we're seeing a pretty big spread. So punchline is this: we've submitted the environmental work, and we're getting that's moving forward. We're prepared to submit the planning document. And I guess I'm looking for a little bit of guidance. I think you could be looking up to 3 million. I also have a budget number that maybe puts it closer to 2.5. If we ask for 3 and we go through all the financials, Brian, will we be able to show that you can pay that back?
Absolutely.
Okay. So should we shoot for the stars then, and then pare it back as it comes into play? And then
That's my opinion, but I'll listen to the board and yield.
Okay. So that's where I'm at, and upon that decision, the submittals will start flying.
So I guess for me, not to put too fine a point on it, but are we going to be able to submit and know whether or not we're going to get accepted by summer of 2020 this year, I guess?
Maybe. Tough to say. As you go through the process, if you have all your T's dotted and I's crossed, perhaps. The environmentals, I don't expect any issues. They're out there. We haven't got all the sign-offs yet, but I don't expect there to be a problem.
Let me back off the absolute. So more likely than not, we'll be able to be in a position to know whether or not they will approve. We'll at least be able, not that we will be approved, but we'll be in a position to ask for the money.
Yeah, you're going to ask when we submit this and then go through this, and ultimately what you get down to is an offer that you're in the queue for this amount of money, and this amount of money has been allocated for you. You've shown that you can pay this back, and so that they will essentially prepare make sure I get the right term, a notice of intent that says, here's do you want a loan for X number of dollars?
The assumption I'm making is if we have everything in and we ask for $3 million, if we get some level of forgiveness, maybe it's not 50%, some level of forgiveness, and we have to borrow $2 million, we may have to make decisions on what capital doesn't go where it's currently going. But I think we can afford 1.5% interest on $2 million to get this thing done. The thing I want more than anything, and I'll let the board tell me if they disagree, and that's fine if they do. But I want more than anything is I want our place in line, and I want them to tell us what I want a number, and then something we can be actionable on.
I am hopeful that you would have that in the middle of this summer, late this summer. It's so hard to tell with the process. But yes, I'm hopeful. The next step is like I said, what number do you want to ask for? And I think if it's right now my estimate here it's 2.94. And I'm hopeful that's conservative. And that you could go to bid and it would come in maybe closer to 2.2, 2.3.
Yeah, I mean, Cassandra and I are going to start building next year's budget. Once we have the January financials done. So I'm going to go into that assuming that we're going to borrow, let's say, if you use your $3 million number, that we're going to get some level of forgiveness, and they were going to have a loan of X. And they were going to have to pay whatever whatever the number is. I don't know what it is, 1.5% or whatever. Last I heard it was 0.08, but whatever the number is, we'll have to do all that work. And I'm going to build that payment into the 2024, 2025. And even if we don't spend it on a loan, I'm going to be putting it away from a capital perspective, I hope.
Yeah, and I don't want to split hairs, but when we looked at this last year at this time, almost exactly, the schedule was, as we were moving forward, you weren't going to start payments back until 26. So you're 3 years out till you're paying anything back.
I understand that, but if I can afford to start putting those payments back now, why not?
And then the question becomes okay, so you say it's a $3 million project. How much of that do you want to borrow at those terms? I know you have something squirreled away, and that's a decision maybe you make at that time once you have everything in front of you, the offer in front of you. Do you borrow
2% all of it?
I'm going to budget for half of it, assume 50% forgiveness at whatever rate it is, 0.08%. Look at what we're currently putting away from capital which is a big number, and adjust that capital number accordingly. And if we don't have to pay for 3 years, I'm building up. We can do this. I really believe we do. It's the last hill to climb for our basic utility. What the right word is, basic utility sustainability, or
this is the big gray infrastructure, right? The rest of it is like MFT program where it's an annual thing that you're picking at, and same with water mains and sewer mains.
All that stuff's in place.
Mm-hmm.
We get this done. 5 years from now, I'd like to be able to say to the village that we've got all the basic utilities right where we want them, and the capital funding to keep them that way forever, as long as we don't make any stupid decisions.
Yeah, I would like to think that certainly at the end of the summer you will have clarity on this as we submit these things in. It just takes a while to chew on them, and I think it's smart to stop and make sure that everything's in a row here with your water usage, your population. Is a 200,000 gallon tank the right size? Remember we looked at 200 and 250. At the time, those were a lot smaller numbers. Now they're big numbers. I think you want to be careful and ask for the right thing.
Yeah, I think the plan that we put together is sufficient for where we are. Because you had excess capacity built into that. And
there's excess in the 200 and the 250.
What we thought was we were going to have a fishery right down the road, and that ain't going to happen now. It's going to be, not in town. It's going to be 2 miles down the road.
Oh boy.
And they're going to use a lake and other things, so that's not water we're going to have to produce. So.
Right. So that's where we're at. I think. And what I want to do is give more regular updates, even if it is just by Zoom here. We're in the meat of this. It took us a bit to get some traction, to get some estimates that weren't I want a realistic number, a budget estimate, because if they're going to give you something, of course, they're going to be careful about. And that causes you to say, well, this is a project we can't afford, then what good is it? And then when you go to bid, it's significantly less. So we're trying to collect that data. I think we're at a point where we're done. We need to move forward here. But I will submit these totals to you tomorrow or Thursday, let you look at where we're going to land, get this thing revised. I think Jim is working on getting some revised water numbers. It's not critical. I would hate to submit this and then have them say, well, how's come you don't show water usage past 2019? Not that it's going to change the answer, but it's just one more thing for them to question. So I think we need to update that and get this thing completed. So that's where we're at.
Did you say you got solid numbers for Dunlap's water tower?
I do. I have bid tabs.
What's
It's from a year ago. That was what caused us to go to jump up.
What's different between ours and theirs?
Not much. Well, all your site work.
Oh,
They're putting in a new building.
right.
Yeah, you guys actually have. God, when we went through this,
Or I should be
the tower was just a piece of it. There was a lot of extra. While we're at it, you got a parking lot, the water salesman, demo of the building, demo of the tower. You don't have to tear down that old one, but you rolled all that into the project.
We still want to, I think, and if that number's still 3 million, that number does not scare me. It's not.
There you go.
It's not that I want to borrow 3 million, but financially, I think we can make that work.
But we're not necessarily, right? I mean, we get forgiveness.
Correct.
Right.
But even that's why I say it.
Not that we don't
Even
gotta
if we-
be able to borrow 3 to do this. I know that you got to show that, and then they'll forgive you, maybe. But we don't got to go forward till we know whether or not we're getting forgiveness.
Agreed. We can always back out if we don't like the numbers after.
And an even bigger concern is that this interest rate's really that low still.
Yeah, the last number I got when we did it in July of this last year, they told me the number for the next year was the loans were at 0.08 still, I think.
Well, just so much has changed since then. It makes you wonder if that's changed.
But even if it's 1.5,
No. And if it's under 3, we got to. I think.
Oh,
Finance every-
most of the IEPA loans are always dramatically lower than what you're going to see.
I don't think
Yes,
there's any
but
way it's over 1.5.
our interest rates are at
1.5 is probably
15
our
years
worst
high
case
though,
scenario.
everywhere else too. So I just didn't know if that was going to affect it. But if it
And
is
we-
under 3, I don't see
And
why you would
currently
finance
we
all
have
of it.
0 debt. This town has no debt. And I think next year we could put away almost $250,000 worth of capital for.
You would want to put that down on the loan, or you would just want
No,
to
I'm
hold
just
that?
saying in total, that's our number. But like, if you look at streets, we got almost $500,000 in streets, and Rob might throw something at me. But if for a while, if we had to back off to $60,000 a year for streets,
You think we could cycle 1 year out of that or something?
there's things we can do to make it work. But we're currently putting $7,500 a month into water. What's that times 12? That's 75,000 plus 15,000, right? At 90 grand a year.
What was that interest we were making on that?
Yeah,
It's about $5,000 a month.
you know, the solar farm comes in over there, and we get another $40,000 worth of TIF money.
I'm not sure we really have an option.
What on the?
I mean, we kind of got to do this. This is
It's not going to probably get cheaper, is it?
No.
nothing. It's cheap.
It's
but
not
what-
going to go away. It's not going to get cheaper. It's not that we have to do it right now, but it needs to be done.
They wanted you to start this 10 years ago, and now here you are again, and you push this off. Forgiveness falls off the table, or interest rates fall off.
Now would be the time to do it.
Yeah, I think.
Well, I'm just concerned something
I think we're
serious.
all in, Brandon. Let's run it.
We got to pay for it.
We're all in. Let's go.
Yeah, because there's nothing that says the IEPA doesn't come back and says you need to replace your water tower tomorrow.
And if they do, there's not much we can do. You can't.
But we can show that we're working. If they were to give us an ultimatum like that, the IEPA normally has a step process. Am I correct, Brandon?
You are actually being in trouble almost helps sometimes.
Yeah. It actually shows that we're doing the processes, and we've had that in other projects and stuff. As long as we're showing we're doing our due diligence of what the village is able to do, getting maybe having the tank cleaned and things like that. That may give you a couple more years before they draw the deadline.
I think we're all in. Let's
Yeah.
run the numbers. We don't have to, we can always back out if they tell us they're not going to give us the forgiveness or if the loan rate's higher than what we whatever. But
You can. It's just that you have to be able to show it, and I didn't know where that line was as we go through, and you show that your billing can support the repayment at whatever rate. At some point you can't show that with your current rates. That you can't afford to pay this back. And if that's not 3 million, then we're going to keep rolling. I'm with you. I just didn't know where that line was. I didn't want to try to go through the process of showing that when
we're not currently billing enough to take on a $3 million loan, but we can show financially that we've got enough capital in other areas that we can shift over to make that work.
And that's the game that we'll have to play, and that's why it's tough to say how long does it take, is to show them that your whatever fund or however you do it, to show the EPA that you have the ability to repay this.
And we're year 4. We're in year 4 on the streets. You know, we could do year 5 and then back off for 2 years. And I mean, there's all kinds of things we could do to.
Yeah, I mean, I think you'd be hard pressed to find any small village that can afford $3 million just off their water rates.
Yeah,
you're profiting that much.
Well, some of them do a surcharge rate too, like when you do a new tower.
We could do that too.
They do
but we don't even have enough accounts to pay for that.
Well, what they do is it's not a big surcharge. What it is like East Peoria, when they did their new sewer plant in East Peoria, they did a $2 surcharge, and they did that for, I don't know, like 6-7 years. And then when they came to time, they had pretty much almost all the money they needed for their portion. So,
and you know, Brian, you got to be seeing the light at the end of the tunnel on the sewer lining. Actually, you paid that off, didn't you?
Yeah, we have zero debt.
That's right, you paid that off. So same thing there.
I can't remember what the number was, but we looked at our loan capacity. What was the number? 1.6 or something like that. We can borrow up to 1.6, but I mean, unless it's an EPA issue, which we're going to get, they're not going to hold us to the 1.6.
Well, and that's the thing is, because I can't even remember how much that sewer one was, Brandon. What we paid off was like $280,000 or something this last year.
Yeah, it was $600,000 or $700,000 total. You know, you were paying what, $25,000 twice a year, something like that.
Yeah. So I mean, if you look at our cost when our means when we took that loan, you know, our means have grown so much more exponentially, as have cost. But you know,
we're to the point now where the sewer lining we're not even borrowing for. We're putting $50,000 a year to line the sewer for the next 5 years, and it'll be done.
Exactly, and that was the intent back at the day. And again, back to Tony, to your point, that was because the EPA made you, and you know, you prepared a plan to do a project, and then start putting money away, so that instead of, as Brian's been saying from day one, instead of chasing it, you're ahead of it. It's part of your program. It's part of the money you put away. Instead of paying off loans, you're just, that's part of your program. So it's the same boat. I hear what you're saying. I apologize if my caution there is delayed it. I just wanted to make sure.
We just want you to know we're all in. Push as hard as you can. We want to apply. We want to know. Give us a number, and we'll make a decision.
You're going to see some action here very shortly. I'll send some things over here. Jim and I work together to tweak this report. Probably be submitted in the next couple of days.
Thanks, Brandon.
All righty. That's all I have. Thank you.
And if you need to, does anybody have any questions for Brandon? Brandon, if you need to drop off, go ahead, sir.
Brian, have you got the MFT stuff? Is there anything for me to say on that later?
I've got the program. You're welcome to stay and look at the numbers and all that kind of stuff. Joe and I have worked them out.
Yeah, I was to say, you know more than I do. If you don't have any questions on that, then I will, Joe.
No.
Jump off.
No, we're good.
Rolling. Thank you all. Hope you have a great evening.
Thanks, Brandon.
Bye.
Attorney's report, Miss Abby.
I don't have anything new to report.
Well, that makes it really easy for you.
All right, so the administrator's report is next. I apologize. Everything's not in the correct order. You have to kind of go to the second to last document because we had some things that didn't get done. I was going to share with you tonight the December financials. We've got a bit of an issue going on with our financials. I think it's a system issue related to the utility billing. But we've got Locust working on it. Basically, if you look down at the sheet I gave you, we billed out $38,000 for water for the month of December, but we had income of $17,000. So that doesn't make sense because we don't have that many people that are not paid. We billed out $16,000 for sewer, but we have income of $27,000, which absolutely does not make sense. And there's no way that you can have sewer income can be higher than water. And then garbage,
We billed $7,500, which is what we normally bill each month, but we had $14,000 worth of income. If you look at the totals of what we billed, it's $61,000. If you look at the totals of the income, it's like $59,000.
Right on track.
So we think the total's right, but the mix is wrong. So what ends up happening is somebody pays a utility bill, and then the system says, based upon what it knows, so much goes to water, so much goes to sewer, so much goes to garbage, based upon the formulas that are built in and whatever. We think something's mixed up in that. We've got Locust looking at it. My theory is the total's right, the mix is wrong. I don't know that to be true. That's just my theory. If that is true for the month, we were about $18,000 to the month positive. But I don't want to share those results until I know exactly where that lands. So we've got them working on it. So the next 30 days Cassandra's going to have her hands full, because we're going to have to do December, we're going to have to do January, and then we're going to have to start building the budget for next year with the January results. So Cassandra's going to be busy. Water rate increase, I sent you that email today. I don't know if you have that data with you. Okay, you can cover that when you get there. But we're on track for the water rate increase to go in. Lagoon Solar, we published the bid date and time, which was yesterday at 10, and we only got one bid. It was from Jason Hawksworth at Hakatola, and we're working on that. And probably the next meeting on February 6th, we'll bring that in, and he'll present it in a public hearing, and we'll look at that. We would be borrowing around $500,000, a little over, to put the solar in, but it's got a really good payback, and we'll go through those details at the next meeting. As far as the grants for this year, the postcards are supposed to be going out now. We're working on the tax documents for everybody who got a grant last year, sending them the information that they need to know what they need to. Is that done?
I sent out the W-9 forms. I've gotten 2 back.
So anybody that got a grant has to know that's a taxable event. So we sent that out. Village of Hannah City. What does the map mean? I don't even know what that means.
Everybody gets a map.
I think it's app. Yeah, I meant for that to mean app. That's spell check. So we're getting ready to send out, by the end of the month, we'll send out a mailing to everybody. We're about 350 residents on the app, and we're going to send out a mailing to each of the homes by the end of the month. And then I'm still working on this whole annexation project to see if we can put those dots together, but I just wanted to, that's not done yet either. I'm done. That's it. Questions for me?
Okay. Thank you, Brian. Go to committee reports, Mr. Chair Raleigh.
Nothing from me.
Planning and zoning, do we have anything?
Nope.
Nothing there. Sanitary sewer, Mr. Pearson.
Oh yeah. So we might remember we had lift station go down due to some flooding. We're working on that. There's 2 pumps that went out, and we're replacing one of them right now. What are we waiting for the second one?
Well, there's 2 pumps in the thing, and one's a backup and one runs, or they alternate or whatever. So we got to fix one, and then once it's fixed, then we can fix the other.
Gotcha. Okay.
But we can't have both down at the same time.
So this is just the price of the one.
This is just fixing the first one.
Yeah. So we went ahead and approved the fixing of the first pump. Obviously, we need it. We won't be able to vote on it until 2/6. But the cost of that one is $5,073.18. So when we do the second one, it'll probably be about the same price. But yeah, they're working on that now. And that's it for sanitary sewer.
Thank you, Ryan. Water, Mr. Pearson.
Water, we had our 2.7% increase. I have a couple numbers for those who are interested in what that actually comes out to. Tracy pulled some numbers together. So yeah, 2.7% for the commercial rates. What used to be $38.50 for 2,000 usage is now $39.54, so a little over $1. And this affects gills and that car wash basically. And then for the additional $1,000 a month or 1,000 gallons a month, it's used to be $750 and now it's $770. For inside village residents, over 2,000, what used to be $38.50 is now $39.54, and then the additional 1,000, what used to be $12.50 is $12.84. Outside village residents, over 2,000, used to be $68.50 is now $69.32, and the additional 1,000 used to be $21.50 is now $22.08. A couple examples of what a water bill looks like. Let's see. So if you're, must be the large one. Yeah, for like the commercial, if it used to be $1,253.94, it's now $1,287.39, an increase of $33. For residents, where an old bill used to be $68.50, now looks about $70.36, so an increase of $1.86. And that's for inside residents. For outside residents, it's an increase of about $2.40.
That's monthly.
Yes, that's per bill. Any questions on any of that stuff?
So most people will see a couple of bucks a month.
Yeah, a couple bucks.
Less than $2 a month.
Tracy did say that she was mad at all of you for making it a 2.7% increase and throwing off her round numbers.
Yeah, we talked about maybe we should. Well, 2.7 was based upon what we the
Right.
average of what we get from Illinois American. So
I'm throwing off her round numbers.
yeah.
Yep.
Tell her next time we'll do 2.398.
79. Yeah. We'll do pi. We'll do a pi increase.
And I think that's it for water.
Thank you, Mr. Pearson. Buildings and grounds, Mr. Weaver.
Nothing on buildings and grounds.
Streets and alleys, Mr. Weaver.
The MFP proposals are a few from everybody. Looks like for this year 24, we're going to do Court, Center, Robin, 3rd, 2nd, Chicago, Peoria, and Logan.
Cool.
Yes, my street finally gets done.
Yeah.
Or something made a mistake. We got to get that out there. We can't do Tony Street.
It's got to be done sooner or later. So.
No.
Can we run through the financials?
Yeah.
So if you look at MFT cash right now, our balance as of the end of the year was $89,987 in the MFT checking account. We're going to get $4,100 roughly a month between January and April, the last 2 months of the fiscal year. So that's another $16,400. So that means that we'll begin the new fiscal year with $106,387 in our MFT checking account. So the 24-25 estimate for the streets that Rod just talked about, we would spend $82,487. So that would leave us an additional $23,900 to leave in the checking account, plus the $4,100 a month we're going to get for the new fiscal year. So we're not even using all the money that we're going to get. And then if you look at the next page, the streets capital, we're putting $60,000 a year away in streets. We've got $400 and almost $30,000 in the street account right now, plus the $60,000 we're going to get for this fiscal year. So that's going to take us to almost $500,000. Those dollars are being set aside so that, and Rod knows more about this than I do, but let's say we need to eventually do Murphy and grind up the whole thing and redo the whole street rather than just oil and chip it, right? And that's probably going to cost us $200,000-$300,000 to do that if we want to do that. So we're saving that money for the big expenses someday. So that's why we're putting that aside. And then the details of all that, if you look at in the back, it shows our assumptions on what we think we're going to be charged, and that shows the 2024 at $82,000 and the 2025 at $64,000. Although we're talking about maybe adding alleys to the 2025 number and raising that number up another $20,000 to the alleys that are out there. But I don't. For me, it's exciting because you look at that map. We started. Rod was here. I was here. I don't know. Tony was here, but I think that's the only one. That's the only ones that were here. We set out a 5-year plan to do every street.
Caleb was on the board. He just wasn't here.
Yeah. Oh, that's right. Caleb would have been.
Typical.
He just wasn't present. Yeah. So I can't believe it, but we're almost to the 5th year of that program, and oil and chipping. Being able to afford oil and chipping of every road.
Went fast.
Huh?
Went fast.
It did. And, believe it or not, this coming year, fiscal year, will be year 2 on the year 2 of year 5 of the 5-year plan to redo the lining of the sewers. So, yeah, we're not reacting anymore. We're proactively getting stuff done. And Roger doesn't think, and I guess Roger will eventually have to weigh in, but he doesn't think we're going to have to oil and chip every road every 5th year, probably. Definitely not like the cul-de-sacs and those types of things. So we're starting to look at what alleys we can do or what sidewalks. Or
Winters like this don't help.
Huh?
Winters like this don't help.
No, that's true. So anyway, it's crazy. We're almost done with our 5-year plan on the first 5-year plan on the streets. I guess we have this down for a vote. Ultimately, what happens is if you guys say, yes, we want to do this, this is what I'll build the budget off of, and then we'll tell the engineers to put it out for bids, and then we'll see what bids we get. But
Shouldn't have to vote on that.
You don't think?
No, because we're not saying, yeah, we're spending this X amount of dollars.
Yeah, I
This
guess
is all
all I'm looking
budgetary.
for is permission to send this out to bid and head forward with this plan.
Anybody okay with that?
Granted.
Huh?
Granted.
Thank you.
Streets look good too. Guys have done a good job keeping all that snow off.
You wouldn't believe it by the handful of knuckleheads on Hannah City Avenue.
Well, those people weren't even in Hannah City.
There's a few. We'll take that aside
Yeah.
now. So, anything else for streets and alleys?
No.
Thanks, Rod. CEDC, Mr. Sidak.
It's time to pay up again. Lose all our TIF money, as per the agreement. Be ordained. Looks like the amount that we're giving back this time, correct me if I'm wrong, is $43,601.93.
Yeah, I think that's right. Yeah. And then if you look at the very back page, and this needs everybody's signatures, so we'll have to pass it around and get that. Let's see.
No signature.
It's the surplus. It goes back. Yeah, so if you look at the very last page gives you the breakdown. So school district's getting 23,000, library's getting 1,300, airport's getting 11, so on and so forth.
Okay, County Soil and Water gets $2.17.
That's the most money they've seen in years.
So basically what we need to do is we need to approve this ordinance, and then I think Cassandra, we send it back to Gwen, but Cassandra, I think you need to send it to the Peoria County so that they have approval to then send the surplus back to the other taxing bodies.
Did we do any ordinances last?
For what? Oh, you're trying to come up with a number? I don't know what the ordinance is. Well, this is first of the,
This is our second meeting, so I'm trying to see if there were any last.
Oh, that's right. I guess I can't remember. Look at the minutes.
That's what he's
We're
doing.
doing.
I think it's 01, but I don't know that for sure.
I don't see any.
So 240101.
240101.
All right. I will make a motion that we adopt an ordinance declaring surplus revenue in the Hannah City TIF District Special Tax Allocation Fund and authorizing payment of that surplus revenue to the Peoria County Treasurer for distribution to affected taxing districts on a pro rata basis for tax year 2022 payable 2023.
I'm sorry?
For the amount
Can you repeat that?
of $43,000 or $43,601.93.
The motion by Sidak,
Second.
Second by Pearson. Everybody knows what we're voting on. This is our excess TIF dollars that we have to.
So 80% of the residential TIF dollars per the original agreement get moved back to the other taxing bonds. And this, we're approving that for this last year.
So, got a motion, got a second. Any further discussion? We'll roll call it. Pearson,
Yes.
Chervali,
Yes.
Syak,
Yes.
Weaver.
Yes.
Keep on the same number. I don't know. Motion carried.
Got sleeves on.
Okay, so I need you to get everybody's signatures.
They
Give
don't
that
sign
to
this.
Cassandra when you're done.
They don't sign this.
There's no signature. for
Oh, I thought there was on
No,
there.
just Bill, the president, and clerk.
Yeah, right there.
What about all these?
Nope, those are.
Oh, those are just I votes. Okay.
Yeah, those I.
Okay. We need to mark that.
I'll do that in my copy.
And then Cassandra, I need you to send me an electronic copy. I need you to do whatever we need to do with Peoria County.
He needs to sign it first.
Okay. And then I'll need to send a copy to the CED. So once we have Denise's signature and Tony's signature, you can send me an electronic copy. You'll handle Peoria County.
Yes.
I'll handle Gwen and the CEDC. So that they'll know what they're getting back. Okay. We're almost there.
Almost there. I'm trying to check on the incident reports. Laptop's going dead.
Did you see my note on this?
I did, but I didn't see the print copy till just now.
Yeah, so we were talking today, she and I were talking, and she looked at it and she said, all the other ones are linked, but for some reason she thinks these are the ones that aren't linked. Double check. And that's fine until we get it, this works fine until we get it published.
My laptop died, so.
Okay, so we're gonna skip administration.
Give me 1 second. Oh, there it goes. Through January 1st through January 7th, there were 2 calls. Business check and family trouble on the other one. And that is for it for the administration report. Okay, Brian, I'll let you speak to that.
Okay, so Cassandra and Abby and I have been working on going through our code and updating it. We're kind of patterning ours after West Peoria, which is another group that Bill's office works with. The first section we did was administration, and we went through and compared ours with West Peoria's, and then Cassandra and I kind of worked out the things we thought we needed to have in it. And I just want to walk through the highlights of the changes, significant changes. And then if you're ready to vote, we'd like to vote to approve this. If you approve it, then this will be the new code replacing everything related to administration. The rest of our code will stay intact until we go through each of the sections and then update them all. Our goal is to get it all updated. I don't know if it's going to take us a year or 2 years or whatever. It's a big project, but we just want to go through and make sure everything's where we want it. If you look at that first page, it says error bookmark not defined. There's links in there. For some reason, it doesn't show up if you look at it in electronic form, but anytime you print it, even the PDF, it shows up. But I think it's a link issue, but we're working on getting that taken care of. If you look at the first section, Board of Trustees, there's really not much change in there. We simplified a lot throughout village government. We didn't change a whole lot there either. It's not till you get to the personnel section. I think it's page 8. And here's what, in this section, we did add a lot. We added all of the current job descriptions. So the village administrator job descriptions in there. We put all of our personal job descriptions in there. So water and sewer superintendent, street superintendent. So this now reflects all of the job descriptions as we have them in our handbook and our personnel files. The other thing is on page 12, if you look at the village finances regarding the payment of expenditures, that area we simplified and we kind of put in the process that we use for paying expenditures. So you might want to look at that a little bit. That's included with Cassandra's job description. We also put in what the attorney does, what the village engineer does, what the clerk does. So basically we align that with our everything else that we've got. If you look at page 17, we added an ethics section. And for the most part, we took that from West Peoria's section and we modified it briefly, but most of that ethics section is something that we lifted from West Peoria. Just to make a quick note, the ethics section and a few others will add to the employee handbook this year so that there's alignment between the employee handbook and what we have in the code. So that includes, prohibited activities for the staff, how we handle gifts, all of those types of things. Then if you look at imposing and administering tax rights and responsibilities, that didn't change much from what we currently have in our existing code. Again, where we could, we simplified, but the gist or the heart of everything kind of remained the same. I would call your attention to page 27. That's where we made probably the most significant change. Is we looked at annual compensation, and we did, as we've done with everything, a market-based analysis. The village president we raised from $4,000 to $5,000. Again, that can't. Oh, it was $3,000. We raised it from $3,000 to $5,000. That can't actually. Nothing changes for Tony until the new election. So if Tony's reelected, that would be the new pay for the new mayor, so that would be another 2 years out. Village clerk,
Village clerk was by meeting, so.
Yeah, but the total amount.
I don't remember.
Okay, so the other changes that we made for the village clerk, the trustees, and the planning and zoning commission is we just made it an annual amount. It's not by meeting anymore. We just took what we're paying per meeting and we just said if the board members are making whatever they're making a meeting, they're just now going to make $1,500 a year, which is the meeting amount towards the total, so she doesn't have to track it, and Denise doesn't have to track it, and we just pay it out in 2 6-month increments. So you get $750 6 months in and $750 after a year. And our thinking on that is if the point of paying per meeting was to encourage people to come to the meetings, if we find a place where people are not coming to the meetings, then we need to manage that separately, right? We just need to say, hey, you're not coming to the meeting. So, and we gave people 2 or 3.
Right.
If you didn't come, you still got paid anyway.
Yeah,
so
2 per year.
Yeah.
So anyway, we just made it so we took the amounts, but the planning and zoning, the amount didn't change. The board of trustees, I don't think the amount changed. The village clerk,
I think it went up a little bit.
Went up a little bit, and then but the one big change we made was the village president, and again that was market based. So you guys can tell us if you think that's too much or not, or whatever. This bidder section is something we didn't have before, but I think we took that from West Peoria.
I'm pretty sure Abby said it was necessary.
That was one of the. Abby told us what we had to have, and then we evaluated. If we didn't need to have it, we evaluated it based upon whether or not we thought there was value in it. Sexual harassment and discrimination. It was a little different than what we've got that currently in our handbook, but this was a little bit differently. But we'll make sure those are aligned with our handbook when we update the handbook. Whistleblower protection we did not have anywhere in our code or in the handbook, so we took this and simplified it a little bit. But we took this from West Peoria, and we'll also add this to the handbook. And I think that's it. Yeah. So at this point, I guess the question, what we'd be asking for is, if you're okay, if you want us to modify this, we can take notes and modify it. Cassandra can modify it and come back. If you're okay with this, then there's an ordinance that we would have, which I guess would be 2401-02, which says we're adopting this, and then the code section would be the amendment to the ordinance. So it would be the ordinance plus the amendment that we would then publish. So I'll shut up and you guys can tell us if you like it, don't like it, if you want to make changes, if you want to wait another week, have more time to look at it, whatever.
So, okay, so the village president's compensation was 3,000.
Yep, and what we did is we looked at, I looked at Delavan, and I looked at, I mean, the same people we always look at, West Peoria, Farmington, and so forth, and the lowest one of any of those was $8,000. And Delavan's probably the closest to us, and I think it was 8,000 as well. So we took it from 3 to 5.
How are we on track with the other trustees?
Actually, on the trustee side, we were pretty well aligned. We're actually, believe it or not, I think a little higher than even like West Peoria, which is bigger than us. But we didn't want to take anything away, so I think you guys, if you add up, you went to every meeting, it would be $1,560 a year, and we just made it a flat rate of $1,500.
Cool. Did we have an ordinance raising this compensation?
I remember we did for the trustees.
For the trustees.
Do we need to for him?
No, it's
I'm paid by
the way we wrote this is nothing, if these will not go into effect until the next, and Abby, you can help me, but
election 20.
the next election. So
Yeah,
there'll
but
be,
we still did that for us too. Like we voted on us, and then it was the next election cycle.
yeah, what this would do is the next election cycle for any of you, this is what would go. This is the ordinance, right?
This is the vote on it.
Correct. This is the ordinance that would put that.
Yeah.
Yeah, this is the ordinance that would put that into place. Yeah.
But it would only be for those that are on election. So whatever 3 trustees plus myself are up for election, that would go into effect for them. And then
yeah, that's the way I asked Abby to help us write it in a way that we didn't have to wait and we didn't have to say so and so. It's just like whenever the next people are elected, this is what we want to pay. Yeah.
is that Abby, does that cover all 6 trustees, even though they're not all being reelected?
I believe the statute requires it to be like after the election. So their rates wouldn't increase simply because other trustees' rates increased. So only after election will their rate change.
And to be honest with you,
It has to be done at least 180 days prior to the election.
Yeah, but yeah, that's what the statute requires.
A couple of
I
us have given
We
raises.
talked about that a little bit too. So
actually, if you're staying on the weekly thing, you're actually making more than
Lose some.
$1,500.
Yeah.
If you come to every meeting.
The current people are going to get $60 more.
Yeah. If you come to every meeting.
So Caleb won, but
Yeah.
I was only at
The only question I have, Abby, is because anytime we've done races in the past, and maybe I'm wrong, but it was only for those that were on election
That's what she just said.
recycle. So they don't have 3 trustees that'll be just still getting the per meeting rate, correct?
Correct.
yes, that's correct.
Okay.
But what we didn't want to have to do is keep changing it, right? So we tried to write it in a way that once everybody's elected, then it's from that point forward. Because every time you have to do it, then you have to have another ordinance. And nothing against Abby, but I don't want to have to write another, spend money to do another ordinance. If we can put it in the code and be done with it.
You don't like talking to Abby?
I like talking to Abby. I want to minimize how much I pay Abby. That's all.
So everybody should have a copy of the ordinance in front of them, an ordinance amending the Codifying Title 1 of the Village of Hannah City Code. Ordinance number be 24-01-02.
So moved.
Motion by Sidak, second by Weaver. Any further discussion? We'll roll call it. Chair Volley?
Yes.
Sidak?
Yes.
Yes. Weaver? And Pearson?
Yes.
Motion carries.
So the next section we're working on is the building code. So that'll probably take even longer. But we're getting there.
Yeah, that can't be easy. I'm sure it's
We meet every other Thursday.
I'm sure it's a serious grind to read some of those sentences. Probably got to read it 3 or 4 times to really understand what you're reading. Well, you guys, maybe one time. Smart cookies.
Depends on the sentence.
Let me know when you get to the liquor law.
We will. Everybody's waiting. Like,
It's the only
Tracy's
thing
got like
people
3
care
or 4
about.
things she wants us to look at. So this required Denise's signature.
Yes. Does anybody else have anything else to come before the board?
I'd like to say thank you for the memorial to my mother.
Sorry for the loss of your mom. How old was she?
She was 86.
Did she live here?
Yes. Well, she's been in the Canton Hospital for 9 years.
Sorry to hear that, Rob.
Yeah, I'm sorry for your loss. So I know it's not easy. So
St. Jude, I think is what you guys donated to. My great grandson is a St. Jude patient.
currently,
Yeah, he's in remission. He had leukemia, but he still has to go back. In fact, he was just there last week.
get his checkups.
Yeah.
How old's he?
He is 7.
That's hard.
There is no better cause than St. Jude.
Yeah, I agree.
Well, thank you, Rod. Our next board meeting will be February 6th, 2024, 6 p.m. If nobody has anything else, meeting is adjourned. Thank
Bye,
you,
Abby.
Abby.
Feel better.
Bye. Have a good night.